The latest 13F filings are out, and we know what are the latest buy for David Tepper and Appaloosa Management. I'm Eddie for Tokyo Alpha Mine, and today we are going to review the 5 biggest holdings for Appaloosa Management and why David Tepper is betting big on these 5 stocks. So let's get started. David Tepper is a legendary hedge fund manager and is at the head of Appaloosa Management, and in this video we are going to review what are his biggest holdings and what kind of moves he has done past quarter. So the first actually biggest holding for David Tepper is Alibaba. And why Alibaba? So we've seen like the latest intervention from David Tepper on CNBC when he mentioned that everything was to buy in China after the announcement of the central bank in China. And so basically, he lived up to his announcement, and we have seen that Alibaba is still his biggest holding even after the Q2 2025 13F filings. And actually what he's seeing on Alibaba is actually the same thing that I think that we are seeing as well on our side, is basically first, a leader in terms of AI in China, and then second, a company that is going to benefit tremendously from the fiscal stimulus and monetary stimulus in China. And basically, so Alibaba is one of the biggest opportunities in the market today because first, it is quite undervalued still and is going to benefit tremendously, as we said, from all the liquidity that we are going to see in the market in China. So this has actually taken some time to actually materialize since last September, but we've seen that Alibaba has been able to reach some levels around 110 and 120, and this is going to continue because all this liquidity and all this stimulus is going to flow into the Chinese economy, and we have seen with the latest results from JD.com or Tencent that this is starting to be materialized in the Chinese economy. And I think that David Tepper on this is quite right, and his biggest holding at around 12% for Alibaba is going to perform very well in the coming few months. So David Tepper, legendary investors as well, is a great value investor, and we have seen that with his newest largest holdings with UNH, so UnitedHealth Group, and actually he has followed a lot of different super investors on this one, and what we can see is that at almost 11% of the portfolio, so this is actually a big bet for David Tepper. And I think that he recognized also the opportunity that Warren Buffett or Michael Burry has seen, is that UnitedHealth Group is actually quite undervalued today and is going to see in the coming 1 or 2 years a great revaluation or re-rating in terms of valuation, but also a huge turnaround in terms of EPS and in terms of profit. And so that's why, like, David Tepper, as the great investor that he is seeing that there is huge value, especially in Q2 and even now at under $300 in UnitedHealth Group. So I think that's what he has been seeing, and that's why he actually took such a massive position in the latest quarter. And this is what we are going to see actually play again, so in the next quarter in Q3 2025. So I wouldn't be surprised that in the next 13F filings that he has increased as well his position, but definitely UnitedHealth Group is a huge value play here, and a lot of super investors like David Tepper have also seized this opportunity. And I think that also we have to deep dive into this one. We have made several videos on UnitedHealth Group, but the opportunity is quite clear for this stock, and I think that David Tepper is a good example of a super investor that we have to follow on this one. The third biggest holdings for David Tepper is actually Amazon. And so, as we've seen Bill Ackman, who actually started a new position in Amazon, I think that David Tepper is also seeing the same type of value in Amazon. So actually Amazon is still growing double digits in e-commerce, ads, and AWS. And I think that a lot of people are sleeping on Amazon. And I think that what they are not realizing is that with AI, Amazon is going to see huge margin expansion. And I think that's what David Tepper, legendary investor, is actually betting on with Amazon. And we are going to see also with the robotics is that Amazon is going to be able to be much more efficient within the warehouse, but also outside of the warehouse. And we are going to see in the next quarter that on top of the revenue growth that Amazon is actually providing with its 3 core businesses, so e-commerce, ads, and AWS, we are going to see more efficiency in e-commerce with robotics. We are going to see more efficiency also in AWS with their self-developed chip like Trainium, for example, and also in ads where AI is going to help target much more efficiently. And this is what we have already seen with Meta in the ad space. And so same as Google, so we are going to see a huge increase in terms of margin and a huge increase in terms of efficiency and in terms of reduction in terms of SG&A expenses. So I think that's the bull case for Amazon, so revenue growth on top of margin expansion, and I think that's what David Tepper is seeing on Amazon, and that's why it's his third biggest holding at almost 9% in his portfolio for Appaloosa Management. So the fourth stock that is the biggest in Appaloosa Management portfolio holdings is Vistra, ticker symbol VST. So basically here we are seeing that David Tepper is having a huge play on power generation and power demand from the AI capex and the AI demand. And definitely, so this is a big play that he has been doing in Q1 and Q2, so this year, and we are seeing that there are still a huge demand in terms of AI and in terms of power for all these data centers. So I think that's why like he's betting big, so at 5% of the portfolio on Vistra. Vistra Energy is actually the biggest independent power generator in the US and is the biggest owner of LNG power plant in the US. So basically, it has actually benefited from a lot of demand in terms of power and is providing the grid with a lot of demand. And I think that this trend is going to continue. But what we have seen is that David Tepper actually bought heavily in Q1 and Q2, but the stock today is at quite all-time high and might already been quite overvalued. So I think that the opportunity might or has already been taken. And what we have to see is to deep dive and to see if there is still enough additional demand or marginal demand on this stock. So Vistra is one of the biggest beneficiary in the AI capex and the power demand. And so I think that a lot of hedge fund investors or hedge fund managers have already actually get into this play. And so today, this is a little bit less of an opportunity. So we have to be careful and we should not just follow blindly what David Tepper has been doing in Q1 and Q2, because today we are almost in August and things can change quite quickly. Finally, also one of the key reasons why David Tepper and a lot of investors have actually invested into Vistra is because it has actually got a lot of cash flow generation, so very strong cash flow generation and a very beneficial policy for shareholders with a lot of return to shareholders in the form of buybacks and dividend. So I think that this is actually a good play in terms of return to shareholders, which benefit a lot from the power demand that we are seeing today in the market thanks to AI. So basically a good play, but which might have already played out in terms of opportunity today. The fifth biggest holding for Appaloosa Management is actually very similar to the fourth one that we have seen, and it is NRG, and which is actually also a huge player in the energy and the LNG power plant in the US. And what we are seeing is that they are benefiting a lot also from the AI power demand that we are seeing in the US. And also very similar to what we are seeing with Vistra is that they have a huge policy in terms of return to shareholders. So thanks to the strong cash flow generation actually coming from the power demand that we are seeing from the AI capex and the AI infrastructure development, they are actually returning a lot of free cash flow to shareholders. And that's why I think that David Tepper, very similar to Vistra, has decided to actually make this position the fifth biggest position in Appaloosa Management portfolio. And beyond the fifth position, so we are seeing also that Appaloosa Management has some very popular pick as well in the portfolio. So with NVDA, with Facebook, and with Google. So definitely David Tepper is seeing that the trend in terms of AI and AI capex is going to continue to actually grow, and that is playing with very safe bets with Meta, NVIDIA, and Google. So this is a bit vanilla, but definitely he has shown that he has been actually right on this trend with a lot of different super investors, and that at the end of Q2 2025, so these were actually very good picks that he may have also actually picked up during the Liberation Day dip. But going forward, I think that we may recognize that these 13F filings are always a bit late, and we have to actually deep dive in all these different holdings to see that if today they are still relevant. So I think that that's the job that we have to do as an investor. We should not follow blindly, so all these super investors. But this is very interesting to see what Appaloosa Management and David Tepper has in his portfolio. Well, so if you like also very similar analysis like this one, so please check more other videos, please like this one, please subscribe, and I'll see you in another one. Bye!